Welcome to industrial timber, where heavy wood, steel machines, dangerous cuts, and unforgiving terrain decide the outcome every single day. If you want real timber work, overloaded trucks, powerful forestry machines, and close calls from deep in the woods, subscribe now and stay with industrial timber. Right away, confusion spreads through the crew. Workers are trying to understand where movement is coming from inside the trees, asking each other what is happening while the situation keeps changing. In dense forest conditions, poor communication becomes dangerous fast. If one person misses the signal, the entire crew can end up reacting too late. Then the Hypro 755 proves that timber processing does not always need a massive industrial plant. This compact system still handles wood efficiently, cutting and processing timber with impressive speed for its size. Small-scale forestry has changed a lot. But forestry is not always about having the perfect equipment. Sometimes crews are stuck with rough machines, bad ground, difficult access, and limited options. There is no ideal answer. There is only adaptation, improvisation, and the need to keep moving one step at a time. Then the next trunk cracks open under pressure, and everyone reacts instantly. That sound is never casual. When wood fibers split unexpectedly, the tree has already started making its own decision. From that moment on, nobody can fully predict where the force will go. After that, a giant stump gets ripped out so easily it almost looks fake. The machine tears it from the earth like loose bark, proving how much hydraulic force can do when the operator knows how to use it. A moment later, you can hear the relief in everyone's voice. They know how close it came to going wrong. In timber work, near misses happen too often, and the dangerous part is that crews can start sounding used to them. The next clip makes one thing clear. This industry is not for anyone afraid of heights. Suspended above the ground, close to unstable timber and heavy equipment, the worker has almost no margin for error. One bad step, one wrong shift, and the job changes instantly. Then we see a professional takedown done properly. The trunk drops slowly, balanced, and controlled, without twisting or snapping unpredictably. Clean cuts, smart planning, and calm execution turn a dangerous job into a controlled removal. But the next operator is different. The hesitation, awkward movement, and uncertain handling show a lack of confidence. In forestry, experience reveals itself quickly. So does inexperience. Then everything slows down. No roaring motors, no hydraulics, no chainsaws. Just horses dragging logs across the forest floor. The sound of timber scraping over soil gives the scene a quiet, old-school weight. Compared to the machines, it feels almost emotional. Then the Van Dyke TV 405 2P giant enters like a machine built to swallow the forest. Branches, trunks, heavy debris, everything disappears into it. This is not delicate processing. This is industrial timber reduction. Then a guy appears who seems more interested in showing off every chainsaw he owns than finishing the job. At some point, the worksite starts looking less like a logging operation and more like a saw collection display. Then comes a serious mistake, standing under the intended fall line. The only reason disaster does not happen is because another tree catches the trunk before it reaches him. That is not skill. That is luck. Next, the job becomes a fight against winter itself. Crews drag timber across freezing rivers, and suddenly this no longer feels like normal logging. It feels like survival against terrain, weather, ice, and unstable footing all at once. Thankfully, the safety helmet does its job. The worker survives the impact, but the lesson is obvious. Protective gear is not optional in forestry. It is the difference between walking away and something much worse. Then a worker rides directly on a suspended tree trunk during a crane lift and nearly gets thrown off as the timber shifts above a house. That is exactly the kind of move that looks bold until the weight changes direction. Next, a compact track forestry machine drives its mulching attachment over fallen timber and dense debris. Spinning steel teeth shred branches, roots, and rotten logs into chips, while dust explodes beneath the drum. It is aggressive land clearing at full industrial force. Then comes the kind of forestry equipment operators love using. Position it correctly, engage the system, and the machine handles most of the hard work. When timber machinery runs perfectly, it becomes strangely satisfying to watch. After a storm tears through a neighborhood, a massive fallen tree lies across a damaged roof. Workers cut the trunk into smaller sections to prevent more structural collapse. But when a climber cuts a heavy limb near the roof edge, trapped tension releases suddenly, and the branch snaps back toward him. The crew reacts fast, because 1 second later could have been much worse. On a steep forest slope, another logger cuts through a damaged leaning tree surrounded by unstable timber. When the trunk hangs against nearby trees, he uses a long forestry hook to pull it free, forcing the suspended section to drop before it can snap back unpredictably. Then the noise fades again. No dust, no engines, no chaos. Just smooth mechanical movement and controlled efficiency. A backhoe excavator pushes against a massive hardwood trunk while workers prepare the base cut. Slowly, the tree leans farther until the huge trunk finally crashes across the open field in a controlled removal. Then a professional climber works high above a residential area, using ropes, rigging lines, and a chainsaw to remove heavy upper sections from a dead tree. Each branch must be lowered carefully away from homes and roads. At that height, one mistake could send huge timber sections crashing into the wrong place. Then comes the chainsaw battle. Steel MS 660, 1 versus MS 500i. One represents brute traditional power. The other brings modern performance technology. Every logger watching has probably already picked a side before the cut even begins. Then a heavily loaded logging truck crawls along a steep mountain forest road, carrying massive stacks of timber on both the main trailer and rear carriage. Every turn becomes a balance test. Every movement depends on weight control, road grip, and driver patience. Immediately afterward, people yell to move equipment away before the area becomes more unstable. Forestry sites live under constant tension. Once trees start moving, everything escalates fast. The basic rule still matters more than confidence. Never stay inside the fall zone. Trees do not care who is standing underneath them. Then frustration enters the scene as someone starts blaming the grinder while the worksite keeps moving around him. That is real forestry. Nothing stays smooth for long. Later, a Peterbilt logging truck crawls across the dangerous slope with almost unbelievable precision. On roads like this, engine power is not the main advantage. Driver skill is. Then the chaos is interrupted by someone asking for lowercase text without punctuation, which somehow fits the randomness of logging work perfectly. The next scene is painful to watch. The setup already feels wrong before anything happens. Anyone with experience can sense it. Then a ZIL 131 appears carrying a load that looks far beyond comfortable limits. From every angle, the truck seems overloaded, and the suspension looks like it is fighting for survival. Finally, a hydraulic loader crane lifts enormous timber trunks and stacks them onto a long logging trailer deep inside the forest. Each processed log must be balanced carefully across the reinforced frame before the oversized haul moves through narrow woodland roads. That is industrial timber. Unstable trees, overloaded trucks, dangerous cuts, chainsaw power, frozen ground, heavy machines, and workers fighting gravity every day. Subscribe now for more raw forestry action, extreme timber machinery, dangerous recoveries, and real work from deep in the wilderness. Drop a comment with the craziest machine or most dangerous moment from today's episode.